Good day, everyone. My name is Gary Bleed. I'm Mitchell Bleed's dad, and he's asked me to sit down and answer some questions about a business I ran, and maybe you can glean some insights on what it takes to run a small business. So, Mitch, you have some questions?
Yeah, I do. The first question I'm going to ask you is, first off, how long were you in business?
I started the business in 2000 and started it right in the corner of the kitchen here, and then moved it down into the basement. And after about a year, it outgrew the basement, and we moved it downtown to the storefront, which has now become 4 storefronts. And I sold the business in 2014, so I ran it for 14 years.
Yes. And what did your business? What did it do?
Well, we started out selling remanufactured laptop computers at the early onset of portable computers when laptops were just the newest thing. So we started out selling remanufactured laptops, moved into remanufactured desktops. Dell recognized us and we became a certified Dell Direct reseller. Then we started in software and repair and accessories, and basically our goal was to be able to do anything that the customer needed. So when you came in the door, we wanted to be able to serve you whatever your needs were.
How did you get into this?
I bought a laptop on eBay in early 2000, and it turned out to be a disastrous experience. It came without an operating system. It came without the necessary licenses. It basically would turn on and say, "Give me software," and it was completely useless. And I thought to myself, there's got to be a better way to buy a used laptop, and there wasn't. So I decided to start one. It was a good move.
In total, how many employees would you have on a regular day?
On average, we'd have between 4 and 7 employees.
Now, was there a night shift, or were you guys normal hours, and what were your guys' heavy business hours?
Well, the hours changed as the business grew. I mean, originally we weren't open on Saturdays. We were closing at 3 o'clock. You know, we did what we needed to do. But by the end of it, we were open 9 to 6 every day and 9 to noon on Saturday. We had an office manager who would leave around 3, and we would hire a high school student to go from 3 to 6. And usually your organization at Richmond High School, DECA, was a real good source of part-time employees.
How did you advertise your business?
Oh, that's a great question. And that is the single place where I misdirected just tens of thousands of dollars. If I'd have known then what I know now, we wouldn't have wasted so much money. Advertising is, how do you get the word out? And the best things that I ended up doing was an organization called BNI, Business Network International, where every Thursday morning at 7 o'clock, I'd sit around a great big table with 40 other businessmen, and we would pass referrals back and forth. Everybody had 30 seconds to talk about their business and what was on sale and what they were doing that week and what sort of a prospect or a lead they were looking for. And then everybody else in the room became your salesman. The second best thing I ever did was write a column for the Mailmax. Every 2 weeks I'd write a column for the Mailmax about computers. And then by far one of the greatest advertisements we had was on Monday nights we'd have a radio show from 6 to 7, Tech Talk with Second Look Laptops, and people could call in live and discuss the problems that they were having with their computer. So I wasted a lot of money on the back of grocery store receipts and ads in papers that did us absolutely no good, coupons, online stuff. You can go broke spending on advertising, and probably one of the most important things you can do is decide where you best spend that advertising dollar. Where is it going to do you the most good?
All right, and I just realized I had this question. Bouncing back to the employees.
Yeah.
What did you look for in an employee?
Oh, well, first of all, you got to have somebody that can do the job, or if you're willing to teach them, can be taught the job. You have to have a basic level of intelligence. Integrity is very important, and responsibility is important. It's important to get somebody that shows up on time, does the job, and leaves when they're supposed to, not when they want to. I had to let people go for cheating on their time, not being truthful with the hours they put in, not being productive. When an employer hires somebody, the object of having that employee is they save me work and make me enough money to be able to pay them and pay the fixed costs of the store and have a little bit left over. So when you show up to a job, the whole idea of being there is the employer is going to pay you a certain amount of money, and you have to be able to make at least that amount plus a little more for the employer in order for you to be there.
Okay, so you talked about how you would resell used computers, and did you do any? You did repairs on computers. How did you learn how to do this? Did you get a college degree for this? Did you go to a IT school?
No, and back then we didn't have YouTube videos. When I first started out, everything was a plug-in modem by the phone lines. There was no wireless, there was no high-speed internet. Everything had to be plugged in, and we did all the data transfer through the phone lines, so that the speeds were pretty slow. It was pretty rudimentary. And then as the market developed, I did pretty well keeping up with it, and I could train people with most of the things we needed to do. But as the business got bigger and things got more complicated, I had to hire techs, people that had some training and some experience. And after a while, my job was to run the business, and the techs, and I had some great techs, not good techs, great techs that knew a lot more than I did about the computers.
All right, and another question I have is, so you did not go to college to learn how to work on computers or IT school, no YouTube. What did you have any previous experiences or college degrees that really helped you know how to manage your business and where to put money and where not?
Oh, absolutely. I've got a degree in business from Ferris State University, and some of those lessons, especially the accounting, the economics, the marketing, the business management classes, those all came into play. You got to know how to read a balance sheet. We used to go into businesses, and we'd have to look at the business for what their computer needs were. And more than once, I'd look at a business or an outfit that was maybe operating on grants or something like that, and they were out of business. They just didn't know it yet because they didn't know the basics of business education. There's a show on called The Profit, and he talks about people, process, and product. And those three things are critical to keeping a business going. But there's also a fourth one, profit. You gotta, at the end of the day, you gotta be taking in more money than you're spending, or your business is gonna fail.
All right. Now, so you say starting from the kitchen, going to the basement, then going to a storefront, opening up another storefront right next to it, breaking down the wall in between.
Yep. Thank God that hair salon went out of business. We needed the space.
Then, after you already owned 2 storefronts out of a 4 storefront, you ended up taking over the whole complex.
We did. 4
storefronts.
A long-time business associate of mine, Reggie Curtis with PC Consultants, he and I were doing so much business together that it just made sense. His business was in Berrien Springs, in Buchanan, and it just made sense for us to co-locate because we were selling computers to his customers and he was doing IT services for our customers. So the two businesses sort of merged, and we ended up taking over the whole building.
Now, so as I said, sounded like you had a very, very successful business. What made people want to come to you, being in Bridgman?
That is a great question, and the one thing that we did that nobody else did is there was no minimum bench charge. Everybody else charges you to look at your computer and then tell you what's wrong with it. How would you feel if you went to an auto mechanic and he said, well, we're going to get it on the rack and we're going to charge you $100 just to get it on the rack and look at it. And at the end of that, after we charge you $100, we'll tell you what's wrong with it, but you've already spent $100 and you haven't fixed anything. I thought that was a bad way to do business. So we had no minimum bench charge. Bring your computer in, we're going to look at it, we're going to find out what's wrong with it, and then we're going to tell you exactly what it's going to cost to fix it. It's a hard estimate. So you've got numbers to work with, because lots of times people would bring us an older machine and it wasn't worth what it would cost to repair it. So we would tell them, it's, we've spent an hour and a half on it, this is what we found out, it's not worth repairing, and there's no charge. Now, they know we've put work into it, and we could have easily done a minimum bench charge, but if you do that, if you give a little more than the customer is expecting, they're going to trust you. And who do people do business with? They do business with people that they trust. And by not charging them when we couldn't offer them any service, they instantly trusted us. I can't count the number of times where we would do something for a customer or do something really small. It wasn't even worth writing an invoice up. And we'd say, no charge, just buy your next computer from us. And they would insist on paying us something. And we had a little box that Kathy, the secretary, kept, and we called it the lunch fund. And we're like, well, if you'd like, you can put something in the lunch fund, because every Friday we buy lunch. I never had to pay for lunch out of my pocket. There was always at least $100 a week in that lunch fund to buy lunch. And anybody who was in the store on Friday at lunchtime, including customers, lunch was on us. Little things like that turn a business into a place people want to come to, people want to buy from, and people trust.
Okay, now, when you started this business, your goals in the beginning, were they the same? Did you complete them at the end of your business, and what were they?
What are you really asking me?
I'm asking you, when you set out to this business,
Mm-hmm.
when you graduated from the basement
Mm-hmm.
down to the storefront.
By the way, that was a scary time. It cost us over $20,000 to move from the basement down to the store. So at that point, I was really in. So are you asking me what were my goals with the business?
What were your goals as being the best around? Having major competitions like
Best Buy was huge competition, but I had some moles with the Geek Squad, because I took the Geek Squad, I'd take them out for beers once in a while, and they knew who we were, and if they sent me a big sale, I'd pay them a commission on it. I'd say thank you. So, but to get back to your question, the goals of the business were, if you're going to do something, be the best at it. Don't do it halfway, and don't do it just for money. If you're in business just for money, you're going to give off that scent. People are going to pick up on it right away, and they're not going to do business with you. The big unique thing about coming into Second Look Laptops was there weren't racks of machines and products that we had to sell you. There were 4 comfortable chairs, a table, a coffee service, and a refrigerator full of water. Anybody walked in the door, be it the UPS man, be it a customer, you want a cup of coffee? Do you want a bottle of water? Sit down, let's talk about your needs. And sometimes we weren't the best choice for them, so we'd refer them to who was. But our goals for the business were customer first. Customer first. Fill the needs of the customer. And if you treat the customer right, and me as the employer, if I treat the employees right, everything else takes care of itself.
Understood. And what advice would you give to...
Hold that question for 1 second, because I'm not sure I totally answered your last question. My goals of the business were, anybody that knows me is, I'm an airline pilot. I fly 787s for American Airlines. And early in 2000, and then September 2001, the airline business was in a lot of trouble. I thought my airline was going to go bankrupt. I had a good chance of being out of a job. 2 small kids, Mitchell wasn't even on the horizon yet, but I wanted to be able to provide for my family. So I thought, let's start this business. Here's an opportunity. Then if the airline goes kerflooey, I've got a backup plan. So that was my overall motivation for starting the business. Now, I apologize for interrupting. What was your question?
Thank you for answering my question. Is there any main things that stick out to you when talking to a young entrepreneur that's talking about creating his own business? Let's do 4 main or 3 main points that you would focus on while starting a business, no matter what the business is.
Well, I like what I said earlier from the profit. You know, you've got people, you've got product, you've got process, and you need to make a profit. And the biggest thing, if you're thinking about starting your own business, get somebody like me who has done their own business and come up with a business plan. Because at different stages of your business, you're going to need different things. And you also need to figure out how much you're going to need to pay for those things. We had insurance. I had to pay Social Security on my employees. We had to keep the lights on. We had to pay for heat. I had to have a stock of machinery. There was a lot of money that was going out the door before we sold a single machine each month. So we had to figure out, I had to know how many machines how many service calls, how many spare parts do I need to sell each month in order to pay the bills? And that's what you got to know. You have to know how much you need to make in order to operate that business, and what do you need to sell to make that.
All right. Well, I want to say thank you for your advice and this interview towards my economics class.
Well, it was a pleasure sitting here in the kitchen and talking to my own son, and I think I'm going to make dinner for him now. So, I want to show you one thing. I did find on my desk one of our old coffee mugs here. So, there's one of our own logos. And back when we first started the business, the average laptop was about $2,500 to $3,500. Well, we could sell our laptops for $995 with a warranty and everything. And so I came up with this. Just when you thought you'd seen it all, a laptop under $1,000. Laptop under $1,000 piano. Get it? Okay, maybe that's not all that funny. Mitchell's shaking his head. He's like, cut, Dad. So anyway, it seemed like a good idea at the time. Should I make dinner now, son?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right.